So in biochemistry, we study things at a very basic level. We study cells, cell organelles, molecules at a very, very basic level. Okay. So biochemistry is a subject which explains life at a molecular level. If you remember last semester, we spoke about in PHSF, an organism is made up of various organ systems. Organ systems are further made up of various organs. Organs are further made up of tissues. Tissues are made up of cells, right? And cells contain various cell organelles. But in biochemistry, we go beyond that. We go beyond the organelle level. We try to find out, okay, if this is an organelle, what is this organelle made up of? We go to the very basic molecular level, the DNA level, right? Because obviously, if we talk about similarities, lifestyle, right, appearance, right, we all might be different, right? We all are different from each other. Our lifestyle is different. Our physical appearance is different from each other. But at molecular level, we all have DNA. At molecular level, we all have nucleotides present in the DNA. At molecular level, we all make mRNA from the DNA, and that mRNA makes proteins for all of us. At molecular level, the structure of your basic biomolecules, be it your glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, they all are similar in everyone, be it you, be it me, be it anybody else. At molecular level, we all have ribosomes, which are made up of ribosomal RNA, if you remember last semester, right? And ribosomal proteins. So at molecular level, we all are similar, no matter what, if our appearance is different from it, outside, or the arrangement of genes will definitely be different, of course, right? But at the molecular level, we all have basic biomolecules, which are your lipids, proteins, carbohydrates, sugars, right? Nucleic acids. They all are similar. So we have common set of molecules. Okay, so that is why to answer all these questions, we need to know biochemistry. We need to know how proteins work. I'm going to teach you that how proteins work, what proteins are made up of. That is your biochemistry. We need to know that if we talk about in PHSF, okay, receptor recognizes its, for example, hormone. We spoke about hormone receptor complex today, how a hormone binds to its own receptor, right? But in biochemistry, we'll try to answer how exactly those receptors recognize and bind to their specific molecules. What is the structure of that receptor? Okay, so we try to answer the questions like this. What are we made up of? What is our genetic material? What are we made up of? How do we work? How do we, okay, we eat food. In anatomy and physiology, we understand the organs, organ systems, right? The anatomy of organs. But in biochemistry, we try to understand how exactly this food is converted, absorbed in the blood, and finally, how this food or glucose is used to produce the energy. How do we generate and use that energy? Okay, so that's what we learn in biochemistry. We'll try to answer all these questions in biochemistry. Okay, and in we all say that okay, there are metabolic reactions, and the metabolism, we all talk about catabolism and anabolism, making the molecules, breaking the molecules. But in biochemistry, we will try to know how exactly these metabolic reactions within our body takes place in detail. The glycolysis, which we learned last semester, right? That was just an introduction to glycolysis. So we are going to know each and every step of glycolysis, each and every step of respiration. Okay. So we're going to talk about how what is ATP. So we, in PHSF, we have been talking about ATP. In biochemistry, we learn what exactly is this ATP. How is this ATP synthesized? What is the Krebs cycle, right? how exactly the protein metabolism and lipid metabolism takes place in our body, right? So all these questions will be answered in your biochemistry. Is it clear to everyone? Did you all understood the do you all understand the basic concept of biochemistry, why we are studying biochemistry? This is a very, very basic biochemistry, and trust me, this is your foundation, because biochemistry is there in the College of Medicine as well. And so it's like a foundation. If you understand the carbohydrates, proteins, amino acids here very clearly, trust me, it's going to build up a foundation for all of you. Because there, nobody will explain you what is a carbohydrate. Nobody will explain you the metabolism in College of Medicine, because there are other complicated stuff which you need to know in College of Medicine. Is it clear? So we're going to talk about in this, basically, we're going to talk about a little bit of organic chemistry. And you might think that why are we studying organic chemistry in biochemistry? The reason is your carbon. Mr. Carbon has such an important place in biochemistry that, it's like your biochemistry is incomplete without carbon. Because the way we say that we all are made up of, the way we say that a wall is made up of bricks, marble, steel, wood, right? Similarly, our living body is made up of organic compounds. It's made up of the carbon. You will have carbon skeleton everywhere. See, once we start your carbohydrates, proteins, so all these chapters we're going to talk about the carbon. Because, so that is why this is just in a review, so that you know what is an organic chemistry. You should have some knowledge about the organic chemistry, right? Because organic chemistry deals with the organic compounds. That means the compounds which contain the carbon. So all our living things, you will find carbon everywhere. Rather, carbon is the second most important element in our body. Oxygen is the first one, followed by carbon, right? So now you might be thinking that why carbon is so important. Why carbon is present in our, whether we talk about carbohydrates or proteins or any organic molecule in our body. Why do we have carbon everywhere? Because the biomolecules like your proteins, as I said, nucleic acids, like they all have a carbon backbone, right? Now you might ask me a question that why carbon is so important, and I think the chemist will be the best person to answer that, and I'm sure that you should be knowing about that. Why carbon, guys, is important? Why do you think why carbon has a special place? What do you think? Is there anybody who can answer why carbon is important, or I should talk to Dr. Amjad that they didn't know why carbon is important? I should complain to Dr. Amjad who's teaching you chemistry. Should I? Do you want me to complain to Dr. Haryapar? I mean, Dr. Amjad about you people? It's present in all living organisms. Okay. Now, if you talk about chemistry point of view, see, guys, why carbon is important? Because there are billions and billions of molecules present, on the earth. It has absolute, that is the answer to my question. Thank you, Mohammed. Because it has 4 valence electrons. Yes, it can compound absolutely. Very good, both of you, Yara and Mohammed. Carbon is important because, can you believe we have given one whole branch of tetravalent, absolutely, Tashil, tetravalency of carbon. So, one entire branch has been given to carbon, right? Organic chemistry is about carbon, isn't it? So we have given one whole branch of chemistry to the carbon. One entire branch of chemistry is dedicated to carbon. That shows how important carbon is. Why carbon is important? Because carbon has an ability to form the carbon-carbon double because of its tetravalent nature. as a result, the carbon is able to form not only with itself, it can form long chain of compounds, not only with one, with each other. Your carbon can also form bond with other elements as well. And it forms stable carbon-carbon bonds. This is one basic reason why carbon is so common, why carbon can form so many compounds. Okay, this is very, very basic thing. Okay, so that is why you will find carbon everywhere in the entire world, including our living body. Okay, so and the simplex organic compounds will be the hydrocarbons, isn't it? Hydrocarbons are basically the simplest of the organic compounds. Okay, and this carbon, you know that out of 13 billion chemical compounds, there are almost 13 billion chemical compounds presently known. And trust me, 90% of them are organic. That means 90% of them are, have carbon present. And thanks to its 4 valence electrons, as you rightly said, that it can form 4 covalent bonds, right, with other elements. And the elements which usually form the bond is like oxygen, hydrogen, phosphorus. Like, so we're not going to chemistry, but we're not dealing with chemistry here, right? That is the reason why carbon is important. So forming bond with its, if you talk about hydrocarbon chain, right, what do we have? We have long carbon chains, isn't it? So it can form the bonds with itself as well as form the bonds with the other molecule. That's how we get the branched structures, the open chain structures, the ring structures. So this shows how versatile your carbon is. So this was the answer. Why life was evolved based on the chemistry of carbon? Why not other elements? The reason is why the tetravalent nature of your carbon, right? It's only the carbon which is able to form such a large array of compounds. If we talk about methane, CH4, simplest carbon compound with just one carbon. And if you go to your DNA, once we study the structure of DNA, you will see that there are billions and billions of carbon atoms present, right? So so we are not concerned about chemistry here, we're concerned about our own body. You will see that once we discuss carbohydrates, proteins, you will find carbon everywhere, right? Excuse me. Excuse me. So that was about carbon. Moving on further, as I said, that this is just a review presentation. We'll just quickly go through it. What are functional groups? You might have studied that in biochemistry. We are not going to use this in biochemistry. So anyways, I'm going to just go over with it. So what are functional groups? Functional groups, as you know, that we have, for example, okay, I'll explain you in terms of, we know the definition of functional, an atom or a group of atoms within a molecule that shows a characteristic of predictable physical and chemical properties. That means if I know that this compound has this functional group, I can definitely predict what will be its physical and chemical properties. But that is somewhat, your chemistry professor is more interested to know the physical and the chemical properties of that functional group. But for me as a biochemist, why functional group is important? Because when I will teach you about carbohydrates, I need to tell you that carbohydrates are basically, they contain alcohol, they contain aldehyde as a functional group, they contain ketone as a functional group. So at that time, you should be knowing what is an aldehyde. Oh, aldehyde is CHO. You should be able to know this. Oh, alcohol is OH. For me, as a biochemist, that is what I want. Okay, but I don't want physical and chemical properties of these functional groups. I don't want nomenclature of these. I don't want all that, right? But what I want is basically, if I'll explain you the table sugar, if I'll explain you sugar, like sucrose, fructose, and carbohydrates, you should be able to know that, okay, what is a carbonyl group? Because in aldehydes and ketones, you have carbonyl group. So you should be able to know that, or you should be able to identify that, oh, this is a carbonyl group. So for me, that is important as a biochemist. Okay. For me, you should be well aware that carboxyl group is present in proteins as well as in lipids. So that is the importance of functional group for me in a biochemistry, rather than knowing its physical and chemical properties. Okay, so that's why functional groups are very, very, and it helps us, for example, to predict a particular, for example, if I say that lipids, okay, we know that lipids contain carboxylic acid. Okay, so if they contain carboxylic acid, okay, I know that along with that they have long hydrocarbon chain. For me, you should be able to know, you should have some concept of what is an hydrocarbon, right? So you should be able to know that. Okay. Or if I tell you that proteins, once I explain you about the proteins, okay, for me, you should be able to identify that, oh, NH2 group, proteins contain NH2 group, it contains this amine group, it has an amide bond. So for me, that much knowledge is sufficient, that okay, you're able to identify the amino group in the proteins, okay, or carboxyl group in the proteins, or carboxylic acid along with the long hydrocarbon chain in the lipid. That's very important for me, right? So that is why functional groups are very, very important. Instead of knowing each and every compound, each and every molecule, we can just simply look at the functional group and find out that, oh, it has this functional group, so we can definitely predict that, oh, it is alcohol. Okay, it has this reactivity, it can dissolve, it's polar or non-polar, right? So that is very important in terms of functional groups. Is it clear till now? Do you find this interesting till now, or you're kind of, oh, this is not good, she has started with the chemistry? it's it's good till now. Okay, alhamdulillah. I will try my best to make this subject as interesting as possible, hopefully. You love organic chemistry. If you love organic chemistry, then okay, then should be fine, then should be fine with it. Because biochemistry is not only organic chemistry, but yes, to have a good knowledge of organic chemistry is very interesting. Okay, good. So you must have read all this in your high school. Definitely, you know that hydrocarbons are carbons and the hydrogen atoms. We might have aliphatic. What are aliphatic? Aliphatic are basically the compounds which are arranged in the straight chain, branched chain, basically non-aromatic, right? You know all this, non-aromatic. And this is basically the aromatic, the organic compounds which has carbon and hydrogen, but it is in the form of a ring structure, right? Like your benzene ring structure, right? So aliphatic, you can expect they are non-aromatic, they are branched, they are straight chain, right? While as aromatic are all ring structures, right? And you can definitely expect that they are always aromatic, are always cyclic, and they're unsaturated. And I'm sure that you all know what is saturated and unsaturated. That's very, very basic thing in chemistry. You know what is saturated and unsaturated, right? Yes. So aromatic are unsaturated, alkynes are unsaturated, alkenes are unsaturated, they are saturated, they are saturated, right? With a single bond. So they're saturated with a single bond, saturated, right? And these three are not non-saturated. So aliphatic are further alkanes, cycloalkanes, alkenes, alkynes. So alkanes with the formula, does anyone remember formula? Chemistry CnH2n plus 2 is for the alkanes, right? Cycloalkanes CnH2n, right? Alkenes also CnH2n. Alkynes CnH2. You don't need to know all this. I'm just telling you, I'm just trying to helping you out. Otherwise, you don't need to know all this in biochemistry, right? -2. Absolute is alkynes. Okay. Moving on further, we'll first talk about the alkanes and the cycloalkanes. You know that alkanes, as we said, that they are saturated. This is their molecular formula, right? And this is the alkenes, and these are the alkynes, right? So We move on, then we have the nomenclature. You know that IUPAC name is like the one standard thing. That's how we name all the chemical compounds. Like all the chemists, they sat together and finally they came up with a unified nomenclature for all the compounds, right? And we call that an IUPAC name. You know that methane is meth is basically a prefix which we use for one carbon, ethane for two, propane for three, butane for four, pentane. You know all this. I mean, I just, you know all this, right? So accordingly, once we have, if we have an alkene, so the suffix will change. It will become methene, this will become ethene, right? Propene. And if it's an alkyne, the suffix will change. It will become methyne. I mean, not methine, ethine, right? Okay, so accordingly, the suffix will change, right? So then rules. So you already are, because I saw a lot of, you all solving a lot of, questions based on IUPAC names, in your chemistry paper. You had this last semester, right? So if I say that, how do we name these compounds? We use the longest continuous carbon chain, isn't it, as a parent name, isn't it? So for example, if this is a compound, why did I name it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Why not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Because the idea is we need to find the longest chain, isn't it? We have to find out the longest chain here. That is very, very important over here. Okay. And then you know that you need to give lowest number to the substituent, right? For example, what is substituent over here, guys? Is it methyl or ethyl? Methyl, not methane, it's a methyl, right? One hydrogen is less. Methyl has one hydrogen less than the methane, right? So this is your CH3 here basically, right? CH3 here, methyl. So why did I name it from here? Why not from here? 1, 2, why not this one? 3, 4. I could have named it this way also. I could have got the longest chain if if I would have started naming it from this side. Why not? Because we need to look at the, absolutely, we need to make sure that the substituent gets the lowest numbering. That is very, very, that's why we'll start naming it from here. Because if we name it from here, the methyl will get number 3, right? If we name it from here, the methyl will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Absolutely. So we need to make sure that the lowest, all this, very good, alhamdulillah. So this will definitely not be 2-ethyl hexane. Of course not, because we have to find the longest chain. Okay, then moving on further. Okay, when you have more than two substituents, okay, if you see here, I have one methyl here, another methyl here, I have an ethyl group here. What do you do if you have more than one substituents? What do you do, ladies and boys and girls? When you have more substituents, what do you do? Two methyl, absolutely, very good. When you have more than two substituents, you first of all give the lowest possible numbering. Okay, and then alphabetically is very important, right? So you cannot write methyl before ethyl. See, this di is not important. D is not important. Methyl and ethyl is very important. So you cannot write methyl first and then ethyl, because E comes first, then the M, right? Right. So we will use here this compound. First of all, we'll find the longest chain, which is of course octane over here. Then we'll find out the substituent. If I start numbering it from here, the substituent will get number 2, right? And this, then it has 2 methyl groups here, okay? And then I will start numbering it, naming it based on the alphabetical order. So this will be 6-ethyl, 2,2-dimethyl octane, because we have 2 methyl groups at position number 2. That's why we use the 2,2. So number is also very important, right? Okay, now if we have identical substituents, we will use di, tri, tetra, isn't it? For example, here we have 2 methyl groups. So I'll be using as 2,4-dimethyl hexane. Okay, I have three substituents over here. 1, 2, 3 methyl groups over here. So I'll use a 2, 4, 5 trimethyl heptane. Okay, and when the two chains are equal in length, so what do? You have to choose the chain which has the greater number of substituents, isn't it? If you see, if I choose this chain, okay, it has one substituent at position number 2, another one at 3, another one at 4, another one at 5. So I'm going to choose this chain because it has maximum number of substituents. That is very, very important. Okay, so it will be 2, 3, 5 trimethyl. This is your propane, right? So it has one carbon over here, another carbon over here, another carbon over here, right? So this is its CH3 group. The open end is always CH3, right? So what it is, will have carbon over here. Okay, so it will have, this is like a propyl, so that's why it's the 4 propyl. So make sure that you choose the carbon chain which has the maximum number of substituents. So if you see here, only 3 substituents are here, right? If you choose it this way, 1, 2, and 3. This is something which you already know about, I'm sure. What do we do in the cycloalkanes? Are cycloalkanes alkanes, guys? Are they alkanes or what are they? Or are they aromatic? This is the most important confusion I have seen, that some people call cycloalkanes as aromatic. Are they aromatic, cycloalkanes? No, they are not aromatic. Of course, they're aliphatic. They are not aromatic at all. Because if you see here, they don't have the double bond. They have the, and look at the formula also. Okay, so if you look at cycloalkanes, the only difference between the alkanes and the cycloalkanes is in term one the formula is different, of course. Okay, that is CnH2n plus 2. This is CnH2n. That's one. And the second thing, if you see here, is that they are saturated cyclic hydrocarbons, right? So look at it. This is cyclopropane. Why propane? Because I have 3 carbons over here. Okay, so it's a propane, and cyclopropane because it's in the ring structure, right? So now when we name cycloalkanes, okay, if there is just like this, you have just one ring and there's no substituent, okay, in the ring, okay, so it will always begin with the cyclo. So that's why we have the cycloalkanes. Okay, this is cyclopentane with 5 carbon. Okay, now if you have the substituents like this, for example, here we have a methyl as a substituent, here you have ethyl as a substituent. Okay, so cycloalkanes which has one substituent, for example, so we are going to make sure that you also name the substituent. This will be the methyl. You will name the substituent first. Methyl cyclopropane, right? This will be ethyl cyclopropane. So before the cyclo, you have to use the name of the substituent. And it's not necessary to specify the number here, specify the number of the locant here at all, not necessary at all. Okay, because we know that we always start numbering it from here, from this methyl group. So no need to mention the number here. Okay. Now, who will answer this? Let me choose. Let me choose who will answer this. Let me see the names, participants. Abdul Rahman Safoor. Can you name this compound? The first one, Abdul Rahman Safoor. The first one, what is it? Yes, yes, Abdul Rahman. Please go ahead. Please name this one. What is this? Yes, Abdullah. I'll choose you once. Let me see if Abdul Rahman will answer this question. How will you name this, Abdul Rahman? I'm still waiting. Abdul Rahman, is there anybody else wants to try? Somebody had raised hand. Who was that? Was it Abdullah?
Hello.
Hi, is it Abdul Aziz?
Abdullah.
Abdullah, yes, please go ahead. Can you please name this one?
The top one.
This one, the top one, yes.
Yes. It's pent. It's 2-methyl and 4-ethyl pentane.
No.
Doctor, shouldn't it be hexane?
It's hexane, okay. And somebody else? Yes, Abdullah.
Doctor, may I ask a question regards about today's class?
I'm sorry?
I wanted to ask a question about today's class.
Okay, please go ahead.
Today's class, according to the schedule in net classroom, is supposed to be at like 10:30 a.m.
No, I'm going to teach another section at 10:30. So that means you were not supposed to be in this class. You were supposed to be in 10:30 class.
Sorry about that, Doctor.
That's okay. That's okay, no issues. That's okay, no issues. Don't worry at all. Okay, so we have people naming it 4-ethyl, 2-methyl hexane. Absolutely. Yara, Abdul Rahman, Sarah, Muhammad. Very good. Absolutely. And who else? Hannah, Rand. Absolutely. Very good. Yusuf. Superb. Because we're going to name it. See, first of all, you have to identify the parent chain. Okay. So 1, 2. Okay, let me see it in this way. Give me a minute. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's an hexane, right? And you will start your numbering from where? Ethyl first, I think. Yes, of course, it's ethyl first. It's absolutely ethyl first. How will you number it? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From this side, the substituent is very close. So I'm going to number it from this side, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 5 and 6. Okay. So what is it? So it is your 4-ethyl. Ethyl will come first before the methyl. 2-methyl hexane. Absolutely correct. Very good. No, it cannot be 2-ethyl. Of course not, Abdul. It cannot be 2-ethyl. It has to be 4-ethyl, because if you start from here, the methyl group will be very close, right? Rather than if you start from here, 1, 2, 3, then your ethyl group will be at position number 3, right? We don't want that. So you will not number, you will not number it from the right hand side, you will number it from this side. This side you'll number it. So yes, very good. Yeah, we have to look for the locant as well. Then who will answer this question? What about this one? What is it? Yes, Muhammad Al Said raised hand. Muhammad Al Said, yes.
Yes, could I answer?
Yeah, please go ahead.
3,4-dimethyl heptane.
Absolutely. It is 3,4-dimethyl, because the longest chain is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 3,4-dimethyl. Absolutely correct. So we have, yes, Ran, Muhammad, Tanya. Very good. Superb. So you're not going to name it from this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because this way your substituent will get number 4 and number 5. So you have to make sure that your locant will get the lowest number. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. How will you number this one? This is an alkene. This is with a double bond. Okay. Who will answer this one? with the double bond. This is an alkene. How will you number this one? You can raise your hand or you can write down in the chat. To make things easier for you, I've already numbered it. I forgot to remove these numbers actually. Double bond should have the lowest number. It's hexene. Okay, then what hexene? Mohammed Al said, yes, Mohammed, please go ahead. How will you
Yeah,
name?
actually,
Mm-hmm.
I think 4 ethyl, 2 methyl, 1 hexene.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It will be, you will start naming it from, numbering it from here. Very good, Mohammed. Because you'll give double bond will get priority, right? So you have to make sure that your bond is at the higher priority. They enjoy the higher priority always. So double bond should be prioritized. So that's why you will start numbering it from number 1, right? So this will be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? It will be 4 ethyl because it's an ethyl group, and it will be 2 methyl. And please make sure, don't forget to write the number where exactly the bond is present. So it will be 1 hexene. Very good. 2 methyl 4 ethyl hexene. No. How 2 methyl? No, it has to be 4 ethyl. E comes before M. Yeah, yes, Mohammed, you can add hex 1E because that's, if we go ahead with the latest nomenclature, you can add that as well. So we are not going, as I said, that our goal here in biochemistry is not about, nomenclature thing here. So because nowadays they've updated a lot of things, so you can write hex 1E. Yes, you can write. Quickly, name this one. This is a cyclo one. This is a cyclohexene. Who will name this one? Raise your hands or write down. 1 ethyl, 4 methyl hexene. It's 4 ethyl, 1 methyl. Okay, wonderful. Very good. Who wrote that? 4 ethyl, 2 me. Oh, no, not 2 ethyl. It's 4 ethyl and then? No. Yes, 4 ethyl, 1 methyl, cyclohexene. Absolutely. Yes, that's correct. Tashil and Muhammad Suleiman. That's correct. 4 ethyl, 1 methyl. Because if you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Number 4, we have ethyl group. Okay. And then here we have methyl group. So 4 ethyl, 1 methyl. And since it's a closed ring structure, so that we will add the word cyclo. And since we have 6 carbons, so we'll add the hexene. So 4 ethyl, 1 methyl, cyclohexene is absolutely correct. You can do this, right? So you can expect, why did I solve all these questions here? Because you can expect these questions, the nomenclature, like a couple of questions we might give you in your midterm exam. So you have to kind of, so this is like an easy one, right? So now can you write the line angle formula, the angle formula? 2,4-dimethyl 2-pentene. Okay, how are we going to make it? You know the line angle formula, right? That's like easiest way to write these hydrocarbons, like very easiest way, right? So it has a double bond. So we have to make sure that we have to write pentene. So 1 carbon, 2 carbon, 3 carbon, 4 carbon, 5 carbon, right? And I have to write 4 methyl. So if I make my double bond here, okay, then I have 2,4-dimethyl. This is my 1, this is my 2, this is my 3, this is my 4, and this is my 5, correct? So did I make it correct, guys? It's 2,4-dimethyl pentene. 2-pentene, I mean, because you have double bond at position number 2. Did I make it correct? Absolutely. Thank you. Wonderful. So that means you can do all this, right? You can do all this, right? So this is like easiest thing, you can do all this. Okay. Good. Now, alkenes and cycloalkenes, and that was all about practicing. Why I made those compounds, that as I told you, that the reason is you need to practice. As I said, that from this review presentation, we normally give a couple of questions on IUPAC nomenclature, and one question, you have to identify the functional group. That will be that's all you need to know from this slide. Okay. So then alkenes, we already know that alkenes, they have what? They have "ene" at the end. We already discussed that previously about the alkenes, right? And it's the naming is same as we did, in the alkanes, okay? Except we will replace the suffix here, which is "ene" over here. This is the suffix over here. So alkenes and alkynes, as you know, that both are unsaturated, and this is not a line angle formula. This is like a condensed formula over here, right? So we might give you a question either in the condensed way or in the line angle formula. So you have to try both of them. Okay. So double bond and unsaturated. Absolutely. That's absolutely very correct, right? So you will name this as 2-hexene, okay, not 4-hexene. We will start naming it from here, right? And here, if you see here, this is 2-methyl 2-butene, because at position number 2, you have a methyl group as well as the double bond. Very important, give location of the double bond. People sometimes they forget to mention the location of the double bond. It's very, very important. Give location of the double bond. Double bond will always get precedence over any other group in the compound, right? So double bond is very, very important. Okay. So, and the longest chain, you already know about it. Okay. So that is it. So guys, how do you write propene? If I have to write propene, what is the formula for propene? Let me see. If I ask you to write propene, how will you write propene? Three carbons. Okay. So how will you write the propene? So propene is 3 carbons, so that makes it C3H6, right? Very easy. So you have to make sure that you have double bond between two C's, right? Somebody has written it between, absolutely. Very good, right? So you will write as CH3 here, correct? And here it will be CH2. I mean, H2 on this side. I mean, this side. I don't have place to write. So it'll be CH, so double bond is here, right? This is your propene, okay? So now cycloalkenes and the cycloalkynes, okay? So for cycloalkenes, you have to give carbon-carbon bond as number 1 and number 2, and then position the substituents as a lowest number, okay? As you see here, this is a cycloalkene. So double bond will get position number 1 and position number 2, and then you will name the substituents. Okay. So this will be 3,5-dimethyl cyclohexene. So this is like very easy. And this is something which I wanted to know whether you have a concept of cis and trans, because I'm going to use this in teaching stereochemistry, maybe on Wednesday or next week. What is cis and trans, guys? What do you mean by cis and trans? Cis on the same side, absolutely, and trans on the, yes. If you see here, this one is cis because we have chlorine on the same side of the double bond. Trans, here we have the chlorine on the opposite side of the double bond, right? This is the cis and trans. So, once we start with the stereoisomerism, that is very, very important, which we're going to talk about next week. Okay. So there we'll talk about we'll talk about in detail about the isomerism, okay? But we are not more interested into into geometric isomerism, okay? We'll talk about other forms of we are more interested in enantiomers. So we'll talk about the enantiomers. I think that once we discuss the chirality and all, okay? So in cis trans, could you please tell me what about the connectivity? In cis trans, do they have same connectivity or different connectivity in cis trans isomerism? Do the atoms have same connectivity in cis trans or they have different connectivity? Mm-hmm. No. In cis trans isomers, if you see cis trans isomers, they have same connectivity. Different orientation, absolutely. They have same connectivity, but when you see the molecule in space, it is different. Yes, so that is a very important thing which you have to remember here. They have same connectivity, but in space they're different. Okay, so but don't worry, we're going to talk about this about cis trans in detail, because hopefully if I teach chirality next week in the class, I can bring molecules to show you in the class that can help you to visualize when I say in space, what does that mean in space when I say that. Okay, so that was about the cis trans isomerism, okay, shown in these alkenes and the cycloalkenes, right? So is cis trans isomerism shown by alkanes as well, right? Yes or no? Cis trans isomer, is it shown by alkanes as well? Yes or no, ladies and boys? No, it's not shown by alkanes. It's not shown by alkanes. However, cycloalkanes, they do show cis trans isomerism. Cycloalkanes, they do show. Okay. For example, because I'm going to, why I'm telling you about this compound, because I'm going to use that when I teach sugar. So if this is a cyclopentane, okay, let's say, well, uh, let's make it 1,2-dimethyl. Let's make it 1,2. Let's put methyl group over here. One methyl group is here. Another methyl group is here. Okay, CH3, CH3. Okay, rest all of them are H's. Rest everywhere you have H. Here also you have H. This is also H. This is H. This is H. This is all H, right? So if you see in this one, the methyl groups, two methyl groups are on the same side. Okay, so this compound is 1,2-dimethyl cyclopentane. The pentane is in a ring form. Okay, so it's on the same side, cis, right? And if I make another compound, it's isomer, wherein if I put one methyl group over here, okay, and if I make another methyl group over here, what can you call this now? Is it cis or a trans, the second one? The second one is trans, isn't it? So two methyl groups on the same side is cis, two methyl groups on the opposite side is trans, right? So yes, alkanes do not show. However, the cycloalkanes, they show cis-trans isomerism, okay? But this will be discussed once again once we discuss the next class, okay? Then we have alkynes. I mean, this is the same thing. It is very simple alkynes, right? We have a triple bond and it is unsaturated. The formula is CnH2n minus 2, right? And alkynes are not very common in nature and they have very least importance in our biochemistry. Least importance, okay? So they, anyways, they're not very common, so we're not going to discuss in detail about the alkynes, right? So this will be 2-heptine, because at position number 2 you have the triple bond and the carbon chain is 7, so this is 2-heptine, okay? And if you have a substituent, you will give preference to the triple bond, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be 4 bromo, 1 butane. Then comes your functional groups. Yes. So in this functional groups thing, okay, what you need to know is that, as I said, that these ones you will practice. For example, if I give you a compound, you need to identify which functional group is present in it. Okay. If we start with alkyl halides, we'll just go over with it quickly. If we start with alkyl halides, which functional group is present in alkyl halides, guys? What is an alkyl halide? How will you define the alkyl halide? They're they're halocarbons, right? They have halogens as well as the carbons. So Rx is the alkyl halide, okay? And if it has an aromatic ring, then it becomes the aryl halide, the way we have it here. This is an aryl chloride, okay? So if you get these kind of compounds, you have to simply identify which functional group is present in them, okay? What about alcohols? Which functional group is present in alcohols? How do you think alcohols are important? Nowadays, alcohols have special place in our life. Do you agree? Like, I mean, everywhere we have sanitizers around, everywhere we have isopropyl alcohol. I don't think we have any house which is not having alcohols nowadays in their house, right? Sanitizers are all around. Oh my God, yes, I have a next class. Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, I have a next class to start with. I think we'll stop here. I don't think we can finish it. I mean, today, of course not. So we will, on Wednesday, we'll finish the functional groups, and at the same time, we'll start chirality. Again, I don't want anyone to be absent on Wednesday, because I will be starting chirality, and then I can continue chirality next week in the classroom. Thank you, all of you. And don't be worried, this was all chemistry, but biochemistry is not all about this chemistry. It's all about a lot of biology as well. Don't worry about that.